We're waiting for Mr. Shivaselam, I suppose.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Since we have so many participants already on board, can I ask Demalya to give some idea, I mean, some background about the Indian Chamber of Commerce and your activities, so that you know, the participants, we keep them engaged, as well as there is some knowledge sharing or information sharing that happens.
Demalya, you have to unmute yourself, my dear. Vipinji, how are things at the airport today in Delhi?
Good. Normal, getting normal day by day.
Okay.
It's getting better.
Okay.
Every day.
Oh, that's good.
So how many freighters are coming now on a daily basis, Vipinji?
Not daily, but you know, like a few airlines, they are having 2 freighters a week, you know, 3 freighters a week. You know, Vipin can tell us better because he knows the airport figures, you know.
Vipinji.
Vipinji, can you, for benefit of all the people attending the webinar, can you give some idea as to, you know, how many number of flights in a week from Delhi, and what is the tonnage that's being uplifted?
I'm sure all of the participants, they know about that there are 2 terminal operators at Delhi. I mean, I represent one of them, that is Cargo Service Center. We have very less tonnage because we don't have a freighter carrier at the moment. We do have, but they are not operating somehow or the other. But the other terminal, we keep on hearing they have a load of 25% roughly. I mean, I don't have exact figure for them, but definitely. But we see some movement now, at least in last 3-4 days, because there's a lot of cargo movement from China to Delhi with the mask and other stuff basically coming. And
go ahead.
Yeah, on the other terminal, of course, there are freighters for UPS, FedEx, Cathay, Qatar, and Turkish. I mean, these are the freighters which are coming. Number-wise, as I said, I don't have, but you can calculate maybe 2 freighters in a day, roughly, which are still coming to the other terminal.
Not even 2 freighters, you know, maybe average if you take not even more than 1 a day, you know. Some days there are 2, some days for 4 days there is no freighter, you know, after.
See, there's a difference between operating a freighter and carrying the tonnage. I mean, number of freighter-wise, like UPS operates almost every day, nearly, except one day. I mean, 6 times. FedEx, same situation. Even though they carry very little cargo, because of course these are sharing freighters that way. So I think export tonnage-wise, it could be 80-90 tons on the other side. I mean, this is purely my guess. Sometime we get to know the figures, of course, while talking to each other. Import wise, definitely it is 150 to 100 tons roughly per day. I mean, I'm talking about combined figures actually. So movement definitely. This morning I also spoke to Bangalore and Chennai as well, by the way, just to get what's happening over there. So they are also in the range, but the figures what they were talking, it was in the range of 30 to 35% of the normal business, which seems to be good actually. I mean, compared to what we do in Delhi. It seems in Delhi we have more restrictions. Number one major reason is we are dealing with 3 states. That is, of course, Haryana, UP, and of course Delhi itself. I think in Tamil Nadu, for an example, I think they are free to move around. Same like Maharashtra, Bombay as well. So I think these are the prime factors which is contributing for less tonnage in Delhi. I'll put it this way.
See, let me put it this way, you know, almost 75 to 80% is only, you know, pharma goods which are moving, whether it's imports or exports.
Export is very low.
There is no other commodity which is moving right now out of Delhi or Bombay, you know, except Bombay, there is few perishable goods are moving, you know, right now. Otherwise, there is no other cargo which is moving practically, you know.
Export wise, yeah, I completely agree with you that major movement is pharma only. We also have freighter for EK. I mean, EK is not operating. Basically, it's a passenger flight which takes cargo. So they are also carrying pharma only. I mean, even the other carrier, when I get to know. I mean, because general cargo movement is very, very restrictive. I mean, maybe somebody had in their godown or something, then restricted. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anybody from ITWA? Because we were expecting somebody to be here, right? We had Mr. Pradeep Singhal from ITWA who was to be part of the.
Mr. Singhal is already there in this session. He has sent a message to everyone. We are not able to see him properly. Mr. Singhal, can you hear us, sir? No, but he has sent a message. Good evening to everyone. I can see on the chat panel.
And I also see that Mr. Shivasalam has sent a message to everybody.
Correct. There is
able
some
to hear
problem.
all, but then I don't think we are able to hear him.
Correct. There's some problem with the audio and video linkage.
Vivek, can you hear me? Sandeep here.
Yeah, hi Sandeep. I can hear you. In fact, I could see you sometime back. But
Can you see me now?
I can't see you. Yeah, I can see you now. Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfectly. Okay.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
We're able to hear you, but we are not able to see you, Mr. Sivasalam. Vivek here.
Yes, my video is stopped.
Okay.
1 minute. Let me see. I'll try to figure it out.
Otherwise, can we request Mr. Sivasalam to begin, sir?
Hi, I think Dev Malya is not audible. Can everyone hear me? This is Kanishk Sethia speaking.
Yes, Mr. Sethia, we can hear you. Please begin.
Wonderful. I'd just like to give a small welcome address and welcome to all the delegates, all the ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking this time out on a Saturday afternoon. I guess every day is a Saturday afternoon for all of us for the last 1 month, but thank you for taking this time out. I represent a company called Western Carriers India Limited. I am the managing director of the company. I am also serving as the council chairman for logistics and supply chain for ICC for this year. It's my pleasure to have you all here for this session today. I think it's going to be a great value add, having a lot of people from the industry to share thoughts and take this forward. As you all know, the format today is that Mr. Sivasalam, senior IAS from Ministry of Commerce and Industry, is with us today. He will be giving us his keynote presentation, followed by a chain of my fellow colleagues who will be talking about it. And the moderator for this is Ms. Anamika Sinha. She's the head business strategy and commercial for Topper&Router. And I hope that this session is going to be really value add for all of us. And over to Anamika to take this forward. Thank you, Anamika.
You can also say Mr. Sivasalam as well now.
Yes, it's important to have Mr. Shivasalam coming on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Kanishka, but I hand it over directly to Mr. Shivasalam. Please look forward to hear from you, sir.
Can I just know what is the of the audience? Of course, a lot of them are known to me personally, but what is the nature of the industry which we are addressing?
Sir, as briefed to you, we're working on the assessment of air and export import scenario. The direction of the discussion towards we're taking is because, as we all know, that suddenly we had to get into a re-season of operations from the imports, and especially in view of this COVID-19 scenario. So how ready are we from the logistics perspective to bring in stability back on the EXIM front? Measures that we need to cope up for the arising difference or rising demand and supply gap. Importance of the data from customs, from other organizations, stakeholders, to be ready for the pre-planning. And it could not be sudden outbursts, because what we saw was like everybody wanted to be first on the first in the row, make things happen. But how we balance each other and what more preparations are required is the focus. That is what Mr. Vivek, Mr. Sunil Arora from Air and Ocean's perspective, they will be discussing out and bringing forth in light.
Thank you. Then on the EXIM side, actually speaking, compared to what I would call on domestic front logistics, surprisingly on the EXIM front, particularly on the import front, we are largely comfortable. That's what, as a nation as a whole, that's our analysis. Yes, we are immediately trying to ramp up our exports, trying to take advantage of the global demand. and that's what is the focus going on. That focus came pretty early in the lockdown itself, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe towards the end of the first week itself, we were largely talking in terms of facilitating export-based industries and export cargo and things like that. What has actually happened on the ground is we are much more comfortable. It so happened that the air guys were much better off the mark and much better organized, and they were able to settle what I would call the internally issues far better than what we have been able to do on the shipping side. I mean, the issues of port congestion, the issues of coordination with freight forwarders, issues of warehousing, issues of arranging for transportation were possibly much better handled on the air side. You might say it might be smaller quantums, but nevertheless they were high value and important ones. And if you look at it in terms of percentage, great. I think on the air side we did far better in terms of even settling business related issues. In terms of demurrage, detentions, or come what may, and we were able to the terminal operators, the cargo terminals, operators, the customs house agents in the air side were able to get their act together and bring some sense of settlement. Which in a sense enabled work to move ahead, and even the false positives were called out. Those who were not performing because of the huge network which was created by by the people. Anybody who found that his cargo was not moving, all what he had to do is to put in that information, and people simply jumped onto it and facilitated it. So a lot of people knew that they couldn't game the system, but that situation is not on the shipping side. Things are much more difficult, much more intractable on the shipping side. I think the ramifications, looking post-COVID, the ramifications of the lack of harmony on the shipping side may actually play out post-COVID. I mean, that's the time when I think the scores will be settled. It's come to that level. Presently, these things are lying under the carpet, but I do things escalate. But I do see things escalating to pretty high, strong levels post-COVID, because post-COVID the power structures will change. And power structures during normal times are quite different than the power structures presently obtaining. And that's what I see things playing around in the shipping side. And as it stands, it is inescapable. That bloodbath is likely to happen. And that's what is my worst fears, unless and until the issues are addressed much more proactively. Of course, I would not be, it'll be sad for me to see this, seeing from the sidelines, but it's likely to happen. Quite a few businesses may simply vanish, or they may not receive state patronage as they presently continue to do, and that's going to be a very strong sentiments coming post COVID. And that may be unfortunate, as I would like to submit before you, because as a person who has seen the good times over the last 1.5 years, and maybe not being able to do much after this, it may appear to be a sad things. But yes, people who don't rise up to the occasion may fall by the wayside. That's the nature's way of addressing things. In air side, we might see a strengthening of bond. strengthening of systems, some of which are extremely worthwhile. Following up some of the permanent things, which some of the temporary things which these air guys managed to put in place. People have seen value in them, and I do believe that the ecosystem itself will ensure that they carry it, because that's a much more cohesive and a homogeneous ecosystem as I see from the sidelines. So may not require much of an I see movement on the air logistics ecosystem to be much more organic and much more internal driven rather than any intervention. I don't think they would require much of an intervention. They may require support and what I would call certain certain positive strokes, but otherwise I think they are well on their way to. They have seen one thing which air cargo in India, air cargo guys have seen, airport terminals have seen, and air freight forwarders have seen, is the importance of India in the air cargo business. And I'm pretty certain that going forward, they will leverage it to make our logistics players go more international. That development I'm able to see because of the large cohesive nature of the way things have operated in this. Each one of them have taken a haircut, but collectively, I think they have managed to stay above water, and that's a matter of great satisfaction. I don't think anybody made big money; they would not. But people have been able to stay afloat to live for another day, and there have been no instances of a major fare increases or fare wars reported on the air side, which assumed were great proportions of being reported to government. There were small instances here and there, and they got tackled on the ground, and that was a big thing which happened. So I did get information. It's not that somebody did not try to game the system, but they quickly realized that the players are all there not to game the system, and that really helped. And I think some of the aspects of the trade was particularly important. I think the air guys got it right. Of course, I did not support them initially, but I quickly realized within a week that these guys got it right, and that is the pains have to be shared, and their 50-50 on the detention was possibly a great idea. Going forward, that ensured that people will not game the system, as people are, including people in our own fraternity of the logistics sector, gaming the system. Whole scale gaming is underway on the shipping sector, and the fact that they have extended it even more the system is going to be gamed even more. So that's, but I think some players could have been upfront with their sincerity in the shipping system. They were not. That created confusions all around, and that also created a huge amount of rent-seeking behaviors, which is still going on. Never think that anything in India is secret. They all flow, and that's what is happening. That's what is happening in this system. Going forward, I think export-import will be the first of the blocks. People have the amount of all the vehicles which is moving, almost 70% are reporting at ports, or one at the end is the port or the airport or an ICD. 70% of the vehicles are so that's increasing, and every day the number of vehicles on the road is increasing by about 1 lakh. My information is as late as day before yesterday. Day before yesterday's information will mean it is 1 day earlier, and 1 day earlier, that is 3 days earlier, it was 7.7 lakhs of vehicles on the ground. And I do believe that going by that trend, and it was 7.7 lakhs, when on the 20th, when on the day we started, 20th, it was 2.2 lakhs on the ground. So 7.57 to 2.2 over 5 days is pretty good. 4 days is pretty good. So that is the way we have proceeded. I think the vehicles on the road should be much more. This is one thing which our logistics fraternity has got it right. They were able to get the truck guys operating and keeping them engaged. It's not that they took them for one carriage and then abandoned them. I think in this particular aspect, our friends in the logistics thing was really supported the first mile, last mile guys with the trucks transport, and the levels of facilitation done by the fraternity to the truck fraternity is something which is very satisfactory. And because of that interaction and that support, it has been possible for the truck fraternity. The fares have not gone very unduly high. People have, if the fares went a little high, people have waited. They were advised to wait for a couple of days, and then the transport went at almost near normal fares. So that support they got from the rest of the logistics trade. And in a situation like this, the freight rates can go over the roof, as is happening on the shipping side with a whole lot of gaming processes which have been unleashed over the last 10 days. Not good for the system, but that's the way things will be fought out. But it's a totally different scenario in the air cargo stream, where I think the big guys have managed to keep the system on an even keel, and people have been facilitated. I know the portals. I know the WhatsApp groups. I'm part of all the WhatsApp groups, 6 or 7 of them, which work on the air cargo side, and I have not had a intervention in those groups for the last 14 days. So, which means virtually my role is over in those groups, and those groups are well underway to take charge of themselves. And I do not see any role, any interventionist, any facilitation role unless and until it is specifically asked. So those are the 7 groups on that side. You can say, if you ask my views on what am I doing on the shipping side, well, I can say with great deal of regret that that it's not worked. It's not worked with many of the many of our logistics intermediaries, and that's a matter of serious concern. Of course, I carry this further with the situation being what it is, that I would not be able to intervene and facilitate things, say 4 days from now. Basically, you can take it that I'm reconciled to the situation of what cannot be cured has to be endured. I think on this very somber note, I will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shivsalam. Definitely noted down all the important points and the highlights that you've mentioned in terms of the progress that the logistics sector has made, and much appreciation that you've given across to the air, and the concern that we're looking from the performance from the ocean side, which I'm sure Mr. Vivekele will be able to address it best and have something worked out. I would firstly now try to introduce, I'm going to introduce the panelists now for the first session. We have eminent speakers from the industry. We have Mr. Vipin Vora. I would welcome him. Mr. Vinayak Azad. Mr. Vipin Vora is Chairman Continental Carriers. Mr. Vinayak Azad, and he's a Commissioner of Customs and at Mumbai Customs, Air Imports. Mr. Vipin Jain, he's CEO DCSC. Mr. Atri, he's Vice Chairman 555. You all know these names, and definitely they don't need any introduction as such. However, these are some other panelists towards the air session that we are going to have for discussion. The moderator and the lead for them is Mr. Sunil Arora. I would request him to take over from here, please.
Thank you, Anamika, and thank you, sir. Shiva Salam sir has always been very encouraging and has led us from the front. And sincere thanks to you for your contribution to the industry. I've been asked to moderate a session on air freight and the challenges ahead. I would like to give a little background of the fact that COVID-19 and its widespread lockdown has had a major impact on Indian and the world economy. And the impact has happened at all levels, be it local or global. And this has actually forced mostly the entire logistics sectors to rethink their strategies. And most important,
I just take a minute in between. Sorry, for Mr. Jasjeet, you is also to be there for your team. Mr. Jasjeet from TCI, he's a CEO TCI, so he'll be there with you in this team. Welcome, Mr. Jasjeet.
Thank you, Anamika. So I think it is high time that we need to really think the post-recovery process post COVID-19, and we need to see that how industry is prepared and what are the actions and what are we thinking about the preparedness. So with this, we'll be discussing the impact and of course our preparedness on the air sector, and what are the major hurdles and their possible solution that can be adopted or put in place for a smooth revival of the scenario which was pre-COVID-19. This is what I would like to begin with, and here what we're going to discuss about is what has been the role of the government, and what is the future planning, and what is the blueprint ahead. Because we are all very hopeful that this is going to end soon, and the moment it ends soon, we should be prepared. We should be prepared with what we have to do. And on this panel discussion, we have 6 speakers with us. I would like to rename once again. We have Mr. Vinayak, Commissioner Customs Import from Mumbai. We have Mr. Jasmeet Singh, CEO TCI, and we have Mr. Vipin Vora, Chairman Continental Group, Mr. Vipin Jain, COO Delhi Cargo Service Center, Mr. P.S. Attri, Vice Chairman FFA, and has also been past President at Delhi Custom Broker Association. And we also have Mr. Vikram Kumar. He is Managing Director with CTC Air Carriers and one of the old CHAs in the country. So to begin with, I would like to request and first on opening remarks from all the speakers, to begin with Mr. Vinayak on the subject preparedness with respect to opening post COVID-19. So Mr. Vinayak, may I request you to give an opening remark, and then of course during the session, which will last 30 minutes, we'll come back to you and ask more in detail. But what do you think about the topic which says preparedness? How prepared is customs as of now? Over to Mr. Vinayak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arora, and a very good afternoon to all the panelists. So I am Vinayak Azad. I am the Commissioner of Customs Import at the Air Customs Sahar, Mumbai. Now, the scenario, as we all know, is not very bright at the moment. However, in the whole process, the air cargo has emerged as the key player in keeping the supply chains moving. And customs, apart from the other stakeholders, has also emerged as one of the frontline defenses against the COVID-19, and also in the fight which we all are fighting to keep the supply chains going. We are doing all our bit in that process. Now, since this particular webinar is mainly concentrating on the preparedness, let me begin by saying that the first thing from the customs point of view, which we did even before the lockdown began, was the Honorable Finance Minister made the customs clearances 24/7, much before the lockdown. So we started working 24/7. So we had a system in place whereby we were prepared slightly much ahead of the lockdown period, to cater for emergencies and to work at our optimal level. Now, secondly, after the lockdown began, we were short of staff. The mandate was to work with bare minimum. So at present, for Air Cargo Mumbai, we are working roughly about 10 to 15% of our staff that we would work in the normal hours. However, it gives me great pride to say that none of the shipments are pending. Every day, my officers are sitting and clearing the cargo every day, and there is a nil pendency at the end of the day. Another challenge that we face now, and that's again, when it comes to preparedness, that's another thing which we have to tackle, is the clearance of cargo. Now, it's one thing for the cargo to arrive at the terminal and the customs to give the out of charge, but to get the things moving, get the goods cleared after the out of charge is another ball game altogether. So at Air Cargo Mumbai, we have a lot of pending cargo which has been given out of charge, but because of various reasons, the logistics is not coming up to the mark, and the importers are not able to pick up the cargo. Particularly of concern is the temperature controlled cargo. So from our point of view, we have been prepared. We are doing our best, and we have taken various facilitation measures. We have issued various public notices. We have done away with a lot of physical submission of copies. We have been taking undertakings on email. Initially, there was apprehensions about the movement of the custom brokers and their personnel. So we devised a system whereby we issued emergency passes. We took the local police on board, and instead of they issuing the passes, we started issuing the passes. And so far we have issued about 1,500 such passes, which I believe has been the game changer. People have started coming. And on an average, we are having about 350 tons of import and about 450 tons of export cargo movement at Air Cargo Mumbai, which I think we are ahead of the pack as compared to the other air cargos. We have taken various safety measures for our staff as well as the other blue collar workers who are working at the air cargo. So
thank you, Mr. Vinayak. I'll come back to you. We have a few more questions to you. I think on the opening remark, I would now come back to Delhi and would like to take on Mr. Vipin Jain. Mr. Vipin Jain, you are a custodian and managing a big custodian at the Delhi airport, Delhi Cargo Service Center. I would like to ask you again on the same lines, Mr. Vipin Jain, that are we prepared to handle that rush the moment COVID-19 gets over and we have regular freighter flights and passenger flights as and when they gradually come in? And what special measures that you've taken, and what do you foresee that can come in between bringing in total effectiveness at handling at your custodian warehouse in Delhi?
Thank you, Sunilji, and ICC as well for inviting me. And it is unfortunate that after every 100 years we have to see this history, but nevertheless the title is very good. Preparedness, that already gives a very positive wave that okay, we have to look forward. Putting straight to a very opening remark, I think the bringing discipline will be a big challenge for us. We are all actually not used to social distancing and getting the work done. We are used to very free environment actually. But with this, so many restrictions coming in, I will not call it a restriction, but social distancing and all, I think we first of all need to work by almost 24/7 basis, which has been missing. We were only working during peak hours. This will not be possible under this environment because like passenger side, there's a huge rush on immigration and security. Similarly, in cargo, we know 5-6 hours, there's a lot of rush. So I think all the stakeholders have to really contribute their bit by saying, okay, we will come at this time and we will do. As far as preparedness is concerned, if you come to a terminal, we have already preparing for this when the lockdown period is over. We don't require so much of facility to escalate the system and all, but we are already prepared ourselves to come to the normalcy. So we are fully geared up, but the discipline part has to come from the trade itself, because they have to wear masks, they have to keep that, because the cargo has to be kept accordingly. We will not be maybe able to handle same cargo in that duration. We have to get used to queuing system. That means maybe we don't put truck and truck together actually. Maybe we leave one seat, like on passenger side, we talk about one space empty. So there could be a slightly change in acceptance time as well from the airline side as well as from our side. This is a real fact on ground.
Thank you, thank
yeah.
you, Vipinji. We'll come back to you again.
Okay,
We have this is I would wanted to have your opening remarks. I come now to Mr. Jasmeet Singh. Mr. Jasmeet Singh, we would like to have your viewpoint on the fact that, as Mr. Adad said, the biggest challenge is not on the clearance part. The biggest challenge is not at the airport. The challenge arises is once you have to move the cargo out of the airport. Although we have Mr. Singhal who will be with Vivek on the next session. But I would like to know that how prepared is our trucking industry, our road feeder movement to take out the cargo, because that is a biggest impediment that has been seen in this testing times. Mr. Sethi, your opening remark, and then of course we have few questions with you for you in the later part of the session.
Thank you, Mr. Arora. It's a pleasure to be here. And as you rightly mentioned, the hinterland movement is very important. I think the trucking community so far has been rather resilient. The one event which happened was the stoppage on 24th without any direction way to unload the cargo. So many of the truck drivers, after waiting for 1 week or 2 weeks with the cargo, and the dhabas also on the highway being closed, they had to leave their trucks at some parking, petrol pumps on the way, other places, and many of them went home. And some of them went home in trucks which were going, some in by other means. So unusual issue for us has come in as an industry as a whole is to how to get the truck drivers back. And the people mostly who come in from the rural background, it's also time right now for the agriculture produce to come out. So like the migrant laborers, we also have an issue at hand where the drivers who have gone home. In terms of movement on the road, I think the full truckload movement has been going fine. But the total movement, what we have been tracking is about 10% of what was earlier. I must also mention that I think it is not only about road, but about all the modes as a whole. So railway has stepped in rather well, both the container operators along with the people from the parcel trains. And they have actually had a very large share and support of the cargo last month, which is appreciable. Also, coastal shipping has been doing rather well. They also are connecting because India has a 7,000-kilometer coastline. So we must not disregard their contribution to the overall hinterland movement, to the overall movement on the Indian subcontinent as well. So the effect mainly is in the part load cargo. And the part load cargo is that part load cargo moves through a hub and spoke arrangement where the so-called essential of food, pharmaceutical, packaging material could be about 10-15%. This actually requires the non-essential cargo to make the whole hub and spoke network to work. So a big impact of not allowing the hub and spoke by the small traders and others is that the parcel cargo has literally collapsed. And that will need the non-essential cargo to come into the system to restart that. This is impacting a lot of the channels where we are part of, is that we have had to really struggle to support some of the movement of vaccines or masks and stuff. Some of our vehicles in the cold chain have been doing almost like a ferry. One vehicle has gone from Bombay to almost 14 stops on the way to deliver vaccine because there was no other option open. But these are essential times. I think what also has happened very well right now is that people have risen above the competitive scenarios and looking at the overall country and ecosystem as a whole. The leadership from the center, from the government, and Mr. Sivaselam is leading that from the front, has been exemplary in terms of all the support given, information that has been remarkable. All circulars come to us on time. We're able to leverage it down the line. Of course, I must say that as a country, we were not prepared for disaster management. We were not ready, and supply chain was never a part of the core service for disaster management. Yes, it's been appreciated in the last few weeks, and rightly so. But by the time it happened, some of the constituents, like the drivers, had already got affected. And going forward, what we find is that the local level understanding of the guidelines by MHA or the Ministry of Health and Family Affairs and from the MOC are misrepresented. So local level, there are a lot of nuances. Getting work done is quite difficult. Perhaps we look at a bit of a PPP here, like the ports and others have been issuing passes, and so are the ICDs and CFS. Maybe it's an idea to allow the large transport companies or anybody registered under the Carriers Act or registered under GST to give passes for its people, so that they can also do this movement and not bother the government by these petty things कि हमको pass नहीं मिला, ये problem हुआ. And those kind of noises of trying to get the work done are 50%, and 50% actually is getting the work done. So that's my 2 bits on this, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sethi. Thank you very much. Your very important comment that we have all risen above the normal scenario goes a long way, speaking about our success in this industry. I would like now to bring in Mr. P.S. Atri. Mr. P.S. Atri is Vice Chairman FFI. Sir, can you hear me? We cannot see you on the screen. Mr. Atri, can we hear? Can you hear us? Okay, I think Mr. Atri is not audible. Anamika, can you just check on him? I would like to now bring in a very seasoned person of the industry, Mr. Vipin Vora. Mr. Vora is Chairman Continental Group. Mr. Vora, since you have been associated with a lot of EXIM industry associations like AEPC and all that, can you give a highlight on two?
He doesn't have his mic on. Sunil, first of all, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes. I would like to thank Mr. Shivaselam and Mr. Azad, especially, in the last 20 days, the amount of work they have done and the way they have helped the trade. It is really a remarkable thing. I must appreciate that. Initially when the lockdown started, way back about a month back, for first 1 week, we could not see any shipment at the airport. Very few shipments were coming. But then with the intervention of Mr. Shivaselam, the things started moving. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Vipin is very clear. At least to me, I can hear you well.
Yeah.
Kindly go
ahead. When we started getting the shipments for pharma, and then there was problem of passes and other trucking and all, which was all sorted out. And now we have reached to a stage where every day we are getting, almost like 400 to 500 tons of cargo cleared from the airport, and even the export cargo. And once again, thanks to Customs and Mr. Shivaselam for their efforts. Now, the only thing is how we could see after COVID-19, what's going to happen. Now, the biggest issue which we are facing right now is the space capacity with the airlines, because most of the passenger airlines, they have stopped flying into India. Now, how soon they can come to India, that is a big challenge. As far as the freighters are concerned, they are all so busy that the prices have gone up like anything. Initially, only the essential commodities were moving out of India or coming into India, especially the pharma and all. But there are a lot of exporters of textile and few other commodities, which they cannot afford those, the prices which the airlines are charging. So that is a big challenge for us, how to bring back the airlines, the charter companies, to take the cargo once the COVID, this thing finishes. The other most important thing, what we have observed during this period is the capacity at the airports. Now, capacity at the airports with, just few flights. Instead, there were no passenger flights coming at Delhi airport. It was only few flights of cargo which were coming. But then, even then, they got so full that there was no place to take it out. So my request to the government is, and Mr. Shivaselam personally is, that they should relook at the policy of airfield station, because that's very, very important. Because after this, this COVID-19 situation, there'll be a lot of opportunities for India that the production from China will come to India. And then we need space at the airports and all. And with the present capacity and present, issues at the airports, we need to see how we can promote the airfield stations outside the airports to give, more and more space for exporters and, doing that. That is most important thing. The other thing is that the way the customs has simplified the procedure, no, faceless clearance and all those things, which is a very, very good move by the customs, which, the trade was trying to get it implemented from the last, few years. But with this COVID-19 has given us a, this facility for now faceless customs clearance, which is very, very good. And I think it's going to go a long way. So, as far as the airfreight is concerned, yes, we are all prepared. We are there to help any exporter, whether it's import, export, pharma, other goods, to take care of those. All the freight forwarding agents, they are ready to handle anything which you people have. Wherever you are stuck, please let us know and we'll be there to help you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vipinji. I'm sorry, my connection got a little lost due to Wi-Fi failure. I'm back again. I think I would like to take on Vikram. Can you hear me? No, can we unmute the mic of Mr. Vikram Kumar? And I think also Mr. Atri's mic has to be unmuted. Vikram, can you hear me? Okay, while we unmute your mic, I would like to come back again to Mr. Vinayak. Mr. Vinayak is with us. Mr. Vinayak, okay. Mr. Vinayak, there's two important points that Vipinji touched upon was e-gate pass
नहीं सर
issue.
यही है बस प्रेजेंटेशन में करके भेजता हूँ आपको फिर करते हैं कि कॉल करने
Can you please mute everybody to please mute their mics? Mr. Vinayak, two important points that we would like to discuss here is that e-gate pass issue and Auto Leo, which Vipinji also touched. These have been great facilitators. Do you think this will continue in post COVID times also, because these were only trial done in Bangalore and Chennai, but now they have been fully implemented in Mumbai. Will this be a game facilitator, and are you issuing directions, or are such directions are being issued by CBIT to all other ports to use this to e-gate pass and Auto Leo to remain to expedite faster movement of clearance at the ports? Mr. Vinayak.
Absolutely. Yeah. So apart from this, there are various other measures, as the Special Secretary was also mentioning, although they have been temporary measures, but they are likely to continue. Now, whether they continue or not, that's for the CBIC to decide, because that's a pan-India issue. But I believe many of these things have shown us the way forward, that although they were meant for a certain situation, but as we go along, we have figured out these are more efficient methods, and certain things which are actually not so necessary, which because of the procedures we are continuing. And during this scenario, we have done away with it, and it's doing fine. So I would believe that they would continue. Although, as I said, that's a policy decision which the board would be taking. And also, I would again like to reiterate the post lockdown period is everything depends on the team effort. It's not one agency, Correct. It's not customs, or it's not just the custom broker, or it's not just the forwarder who has to do. Everybody has to come together, and we have to have a joint strategy for it. That is my. I think that's the most important point that we have to stress here.
Thank you, Mr. Vinay. Team effort and joint strategy is the keywords taken here, and very well summarized. Vipin Jainji, I would like to ask you that have you started sending guidelines to your users, and any sorts of working orders or new SOP is being already shared? Because the moment it gets over, there has to be certain patterns, as you said, not only about social distancing, about handling the entire handling process will take a new shape. So has the DCSC or other custodians, if you're aware of, have started issuing such orders and post-COVID preparedness circulars?
Yes, sir. Thank you, first of all. And I'll just request all the members that learning from COVID-19 situation should be continued till the last, actually. Believe you me, this will give everybody a cushion, at least 25% to improve the processes. I think this should be the first recommendation out of all. Secondly, as far as the SOPs and other part is concerned, we have submitted only today a very detailed one, security and custom processes wise. We are completely online now. We don't require any paper for import. I mean, we are accepting email and all this kind of documents, and which can also be shared with other stakeholders. We have shared with DAL and also with custom in a regular meetings.
Vipinji, so are you thinking of coming up with an audio visual presentation where you show that in post-COVID times what sort of precautions has to be taken? If you could circulate to all your users across India, be it Mumbai, Delhi, or all other places, and likewise other custodians to do it. An easy reference that how you had to come to the airport, how you had to get these things. So maybe it is time to start from alphabet A, because it's going to be a new scenario.
Very good point. I also wanted to add that the best practices from each and every custodian, I'm not saying just for myself or ourselves, but for everyone, I think we should compile all this, and the 5 best points can be implemented easily. And this can be a turning point for the industry. I mean, sometimes we have to learn from bad time. I think this is the situation what we are facing. And I would just like to add what Vipinji was saying. Vipin Vora was saying that we have ample capacity in the warehouse even today. Import is utilized only 30% and export is 100% free. There is no concession at the airport. So one should not be in the mind that, okay, export wise there's a concession, at least. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vipinji. Can we have Mr. Atri? Mr. Atri hear us? Is his mic unmuted? No. Okay, Vikram, are you also there? No, I think we are not able to get him online. I go back to Mr. Vipin Vora. Mr. Vipin Vora, there was a circular, as Mr. Shivasalam also said, that we are all aware of it. 50% of rebate on custodian charges, and similarly, what more facilitation are you looking for from the stakeholders? I request you to be quick and precise on this.
See, basically, what the trade was looking at was that during the this lockdown period, there should not be any damage because it was not their fault. But unfortunately, a lot of companies, they did not clear the cargo and they were lying at the airport and they were using it like a warehouse. And the government's point of view and the terminal point of view was that this space is, once it is cleared, they should take it out and take it to the warehouses. But unfortunately, the problem which the importers and exporters were facing was their factories were closed. There was nobody and they couldn't go over there. Plus, initially, there was no transport available to take the cargo. Now, I think now the situation has changed. And if you see the import figures, every day it's increasing. The only thing is the damage part, which I think initially everybody tried to, ask for it, but the terminal operators and the government also never wanted to look into it because they said even this rebate which they have given was, not required.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Shivasalam wants to say something.
Yeah, I think Mr. Shivasalam wants to say something here.
Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you. I would say that this is the best time. We have got a whole lot of airport, what I would call the key players in the ecosystem here. And I would like to suggest to you that this is the best time for you to change the rules of the game in a manner which is rational. You had asked a very, very, very clear-cut question, and I would also say a very loaded question in the circumstances, whether you would like to have a 50% discount. Now, if I say yes, I am damned. If I say no, I am damned more.
You're right.
So I would like to answer this question in this manner. I don't want, please move away from a regime of any concessions, but please move into the regime of rules, and in which every player plays his part to the extent he is expected to do. Therefore, I would request, my request to Vipin, I request all the airport terminals, my request is when the cargo comes, please get the, and the notice is given, please do not charge when the customs inspection is up to the time the customs inspection takes place. Because that is a time when nobody can, the customer is at the mercy of everybody. He has no role. He has to, you are making him stand at the feet of everybody. Please don't do that.
Thank you, sir.
But once
yes,
customs,
sir, please go on.
But once the customs clears it, notice starts, and everything, every minute will be timed. You may say, okay, you get 12 hours to clear it, and otherwise you have to pay. And that's the way to go. And if you have a queue and the 12 hours get exhausted and the vehicle is standing in the queue and he cannot come in, please extend the administrative largesse of giving people that, that benefit of the doubt, because There will be documents to prove that the vehicle has come and the person was not allowed because there was a particular situation, and you would also know about it. So please extend those things. But otherwise, the time has come for you to have more practical rules rather than these ad hoc rules those times, and making everybody fall at everybody's feet. We should go away from that culture if we want to have what I would call an India logistics team going forward. And I think, Sunil, you are in the best position to do it. Airport people would be willing, as long as we act throughout the chain. And customs also will facilitate, because they are there to do their job. You can say you make it process based, and that will help. My second point to you is something which I've been telling for the last 2 days. There has been a major development which has happened. As you told, he's been very mild. We have been trying for the EDO, E-Gate Pass and all from customs from at least before the time I joined this office. And it never used to happen. And then it happened even without our knowing, without our asking for it. I mean, that's the way it went. And the beauty about that is, nobody, see, it has been so much. See, we should never get into a situation of this nature as a nation. I mean, such a great thing, and nobody praised it because people were fed up of it, that this was not happening, and it happened. So when it happened, there was just a, what you call, acha theek hai, ho gaya hai, pehle hona chahiye tha, abhi ho gaya hai. People did not see that aura which generally we celebrate, that did not happen. Now that situation should not happen in the industry's celebrative process of way forward. And we should never bring ourselves to a situation of getting ourselves so desperate that even such a wonderful thing is where we say, chalo yaar, ye to hona tha, itna din nahi kiya, abhi kar diya. As a situation aana hi nahi chahiye. But be that as it may, on the sidelines, an immediate fallout of that is something which we have decided, and the Ministry of Shipping has also taken note of and actually has given its consent. And that's what I would call the electronic billing, including blockchain. So it is an order of the day. It will come because the institution which has decided it. We will be, since they have decided it and told that the bill of lading in respect of international matters are handled by the Ministry of Commerce, it has come to the Ministry of Commerce. And in the Ministry of Commerce, they have asked me to handle that matter. Obviously, there is no question of, it has come a full circle. I had raised the issue, and now I have been asked to decide on it. So what we are planning to do is, all bills of lading, actually it's a very simple thing. If you look at the Bill of Lading Act on the Indian side, 1856, and also the Foreign Act, there is no reference. Bill of Lading in Indian law can be an e-bill of lading. All what I require is a notification, and a notification under the Act will make it, and bill of lading will be facilitated in India. It will also be facilitated abroad because it is a document created in India, and Indian IT Act law will be applicable as long as the other stakeholders are game to it. And there is also a letter, and Vivek is also here. He is also one of the persons moving that and spearheading it, if I'm not mistaken, along with the IPA, but to establish it on the PCS platform. So he's also there, and when he is speaking, I'm pretty certain he will mention something about it. There are two aspects to it. One is where the e-bill of lading or covered by a blockchain. If it is covered by blockchain, you don't even need to authenticate it at all. It itself is a document. A copy of a blockchain document is something on which you can act on. And once that happens, and that is not, if it is only to a consignee, then you can rely on it and issue an EDO. So there is really no problem. The second type of bills are what is negotiated through the bank. When it is negotiated through the bank, it becomes a property. And if it is a negotiable instrument, a notification from the Reserve Bank of India would be essential. So after our notification, we will be referring it to the Reserve Bank in order so that the banking related e-bill of lading can also be accepted. So this is what is our game plan, so that we get off the blocks first up. Some relief, maybe 20%, 30%, 40% relief is available, so that people can work on the system without being overwhelmed by it. And then quickly, maybe in about 10 days or 15 days, we could be in a position to get the Reserve Bank of India approval. Generally, Reserve Bank is very proactive in these matters. And we are also supported in this by various platforms. As you know, PCS is an open platform where all of you are welcome. And I would be grateful if in respect of India, I would encourage institutions like the ACFI to create its own portal to help its members work on the platform. Even non-members can work on the platform, and maybe they might be having a differential rate. It is also possible for our terminals to create a platform for several others who are what I would call a platform which is lying on parallel and which actually reads into the same database. I think we should go ahead with this thing. And since it is you are only creating platform in respect of your members, it will not be too costly on you, because the major platform capability and the domain capability will be built into the PCS, which will be funded by the government. So I would strongly advise you to look into this, and I would earnestly request you to go forward. And I am pretty certain during the next this webinar following Sunil's webinar, Vivek will also indicate as to how effective it will be for the trade. Thank you. I thought I will mention to you these 2 points.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Your greatest point is to form a team India logistics, which is a unique point, bringing in blockchain and electronic billing. I think I'm already into Vivek's time. Last comments from Vikram. If Vikram has already joined us, give Vikram, be precise, short and quick on preparedness and what are the problems that you're facing at the moment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
First of all, let me just bring to the notice of the honorary special secretary that none of the forwarders or CHAs have increased any sort of rates after the pandemic has happened. So we are still operating at the same rates, keeping in view the logistics costs which needs to be brought down. Now, what I want from the operators is that when it opens, as and when normalcy returns, factories are going to take 5, 6 days, 7 days to normalize operations. Now, during that time, we must use this period to decongest the airports totally, in the sense that whatever import cargo is lying in, whatever export backlogs are happening, we need to get that out, because the terminal operators will need to get in the the forklift drivers, everybody to get into the terminal and decongest it totally, so that things can be done in a proper social distancing sort of way that Vipinji mentioned. Secondly, even if all this happens, I don't foresee our exports growing at any sort of rate with the kind of rates that are existing in the market at this point of time. You know, rates which are like 5 times, 8 times of pre-pandemic times or pre-lockdown times. How can any commodity from India ever be competitive with that kind of freight rate? Now there is a demand supply gap, which I understand, but now to bring that again to stabilize the industry, my suggestion as part of the Air Cargo Agents Association also and the CHA broking community also, is that we have a pool of aircraft in the country which is not operating at this point of time. which we have 6 SpiceJet freighters, we have Blue Dart freighters, we have 787s which Vistara has got in, we have 787s that Air India has. Why not utilize them and use the Air India slots for all the airports that Air India has a slot and operate those flights on code share, so that the foreign airlines get a tough competition and they cannot just take our industry for granted and quote any sort of rates that they want, because India does not have a very strong freighter industry operating out of the country.
Okay, Vikram, thank you. I would like to stop in here because these are certain issues which we have brought it to the notice of Air India, and of course, I 100% agree with the logistic cost not increasing. Is Mr. Atri also online? Would you like to say something?
Can I make?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Vikram, it is not a question of the freight rates in CFS not increasing. That's not the issue at all. It's a issue of not factoring in force majeure. People could not move their cargo not because they did not want to move it, but because they could not move it. Yeah. Now, I have no problem in CFS telling that I issued you notice and I had helped you organize the vehicles, and still you did not move it, and therefore you need to pay not 100% but 200%.
I'm not asking for any waivers, no concessions, no nothing. I'm not asking for all that. But what I'm saying is, post all this, at least for the future,
post all the situation will change. We should not have the CFS system at all. It should be open. I am against this system. It should not happen. I have already gone on record, and customs is worried about my note.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Atri, we are not able to join. I will not. I had thought that I'll have a concluding comment from everyone, but the time is not permitting me. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Namika and team. They've done a wonderful show. And over to Vivek for the next session. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being part of for this session. Thank you, Shiv Salam, sir, for your briefing to all the members regarding the e-bill offering and EDO. We'll come back to that shortly, and I will also give you a take from the on behalf of FILA on the same. I think we need to have some kind of we need to set the tone for the meeting for the discussion. I think some of the key issues that I would like to highlight is this is, of course, firstly, the difference between sea cargo and air cargo. The nature of cargo is different. The freight is 32 times, the volumes are much shorter. So, of course, the issues and challenges pertaining sea cargo are very, very different from the air cargo. So let's move on to the sea cargo. The first important point which I would like to highlight is that never before, we have had where in our business where the external environment is influencing our business to such an extent. We had earlier some challenges regarding some government regulations, or maybe availability of finances, or maybe for infrastructure companies, maybe availability of space. But they could all be circumvented. But today the COVID situation is such a strong external force which is governing and controlling our businesses, and our decision making is currently totally hampered by this phenomenon or development. Another thing that we want to highlight, that being the sea volumes are much larger. We are talking about 10 million TEUs, approximate throughput per annum. We are a densely populated country, so in terms of the new norms of social distancing and the volumes that we are handling, how is this all going to tie up? So of course we have players from who represent every segment of the sea logistics, and we will hear them. And another question that we have is that in absence of a vaccine, we are this COVID situation is not going to go away. I mean, till the time we find a vaccine. So it's, we have this monster to handle for the next 1.5 years minimum is what the estimated time of finding the vaccine is. So we're going to have this, maybe we're going to have this lockdowns on and off, may not be on a national level, but maybe on a regional level. We're still going to have the so-called containment zones. So wherever the infections emerge, those zones will be contained. we're going to have some movement of restriction movements. So all of us need to be prepared for this. And as business, are we ready for this? I think this is what we should be talking about. And this is what I will request my fellow panelists to talk about. So, the issues which I would like to dwell on is the social distancing norm, as to how we are going to deal internally within our offices as well as with our customers when it comes to execution of the social distancing norm. Two, the public transport is not operational and is not going to be operational for some time. So how are we going to access different places and how are we going to have challenges of the customers and our staff reaching the workplaces? So work from home will have to be inculcated as a way of life. Then we'll have customers' expectations because of the prolonged delay. There has been everybody's waiting to receive the cargoes with the constraints. Some cargoes have been received. Some cargoes are in fact imports is moving in a relatively decent way when it comes to arrival at the port. But of course we have a challenge of evacuation thereafter. Whereas exports is the cargoes are not just leaving the factories and the warehouses. So we have a challenge there. And all of a sudden, we post the lockdown, we're going to have all these vehicles on the road. So are we going to have a congestion on the road? Then our vendors, because of the social distancing norms and with the new norms operating, there may be changes in cost. So we may be confronted with higher cost, input cost. Then we have challenges of the resources, which are we'll have staff that will have to be only limited staff operating from home and limited staff operating, the balance staff operating from the office. How are we going to optimize these resources and how do we bring out their productivity? Employee model, customer model, and finally is the cash flow. I think these are some of the issues that our logistics industry will eventually face or are the impending issues. I will like to start with my dear friend Mr. Sandeep Mehta. He is the CEO of Adani Ports, and what I will do is I will move down the chain. So ports are the last frontier for export cargoes and the first frontier for import cargoes. So I have raised the issues. Sandeep, what would be your take on this, and how post-COVID situation, how are you going to address these issues which are raised?
Thank you, Vivek. First of all, I'd like to mention that this has been a very challenging journey for everybody. We have been operating the 10 ports. All the ports were declared as essential services. The staff rose to the occasion. They worked 24/7, and we have had continuous operations at all our ports. And we have been handling ships consistently. We very quickly in all our ports set up all the necessary, requirements that were set up by the government in terms of social distancing, in terms of sanitation, in terms of health. We set up, tunnels for sanitation of workers coming in. We arranged food for them. We arranged separate areas of working, and the way of working actually changed. How we were able to work remotely in terms of we were keeping minimum number of interaction between the ship's crew and our people, safeguarding both sides. It has been a lot of learning there and lot of very quick decisions taken by our teams. They have risen to the occasion. They took care of the transporters who were stranded. They arranged food for them. Since many of our ports have got self-contained ecosystems, we have colonies, we have got people who were able to come, but very strict regime was put in place in terms of safety of people. That was our primary objective. Secondly was to see that we could offer consistent operations. Because people had to use a lot of technology, I think we upgraded all our systems to ensure there was all the cyber security issues were tackled. We tried to see how we could work without human contact in terms of passes, gate operations, interaction between the stakeholders and ourselves. And a lot of investment had already been done, but that was quickly put to use. And I can say even customs rose to the occasion. There has nobody who came for deliveries of import cargo was turned back. Actually, there were no issues related to, means customs also rose to the occasion and took all necessary steps in terms of clearing the cargo. They were very helpful. They turned actually electronic and faceless, and that I should compliment them. Compliment the people who actually worked very hard in clearing the cargo. What happened was that government, in its good intention of safeguarding the people who were there, who could not have cleared cargo, they offered them free time. And that's what Sivasalam sir was saying. The people who could actually clear the cargo took it. The people who could clear the cargo but didn't want to take it hid under this guise and actually said there is free time. Cargo may have been, in case of the airport, you would not have faced such things because cargo values are different and penalties are much higher. In the port system, we have been evacuating cargo to the CFSs, to the ICDs. Rail actually rose to the occasion. Very pleasantly surprised by the way the work the railways did. There have been no congestion building up. Actually, at the railheads, people cleared their cargoes. They went into all ICDs. The first few days, there was a problem of trucks. But after that, cargo started flowing, trucks started moving, and some unscrupulous people have been spending a lot of their time trying to, work their way around making new business models of, getting detention, demurrage waivers and things like that. What I found was they did not invest their time in clearing the cargo. They did not come forward. They did not cooperate. They did not respect the people who were working in COVID situations. All they were doing was investing their time, and they are all the very rich people with the very long cars. And the very rich people were the ones who were actually fighting to get mere ko detention waiver de do, mere ko demurrage waiver de do. Arey brother, and the problem was not related to customs, was not related to trucks. And it was unfair. And now that they find that it will all happen on the 3rd of May, so till the 2nd of May, they are sitting at home. So this is where...
Yeah, Sandeep. So how do you intend to, so post-COVID, that's what topic is. So, we have to confront these situations post-COVID. So how are we going to confront this situation, And I think, I don't know, was it the same bloodbath that Mr. Sivasalam was referring to? In this context, the confrontation that we're going to have in terms of the waivers, or is it, or is it something else in terms of?
My point. In the air system, the freight forwarding group came to some sort of an understanding and realization and cleared the cargo. But in the shipping system, although facilities for movement of the trucks were available, the people who could clear the cargo did not rise to the occasion. I mean, and the system was gamed, and the system was gamed and continues to be gamed.
Yeah, I think that's what Mr. Sandeep Mehta is trying to say. So, how are we going to address this?
Unfortunate.
I differ with Sandeep ji on so many things. He also knows it. But on this, beyond 14th, there is no reason why the cargo which was there on 23rd could not have been planned to be cleared even by 14th. There is no reason.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Sir, for the future, anyway, there were good lessons learned. I think technology has come to play a large role. Everybody has realized. And also intermediaries who did not rise to the occasion will find themselves edged out because they have not added any value in the supply chain. So they will, if they are, not using technology, if they're not part of the system, if they're not joining whatever will be the new way of working, I'm sorry to say, but they will be left out. It's very unfortunate. Because either the larger groups will start, the way it will happen will be, it will be all electronic exchange and they will create no value. So basically, my issue is, first of all, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So basically, I from what I understand and from what I read between the lines, is there's a possibility of disintermediation because of technology coming in. and because of manual systems, you require certain intermediaries, and they may not be required. So, this is what I, this is from what I briefly, understand from what you're saying.
I would
100%.
the other side. I would swing to the other side. Those who are able to do intermediation would be doing intermediation sitting India abroad also. Those who are not able to do intermediation in India, they will continue to stay at home doing nothing.
Okay. So,
See,
Sandeep ji,
Vivek,
I think we have other panelists.
Yeah, I just want to take
So,
one more
is there
second.
something you want to say, or should I move on to the other panelists?
No, I will just take one more second only. I think people need to realize the new way of working, invest in technology, invest in ensuring that because this is not going away. You rightly pointed out, post-COVID, after 3rd of May, this whole world will not change. So you need to ensure that you have got to pay your vendors. You have to maintain a relationship with all your vendors. You have to also ensure that you conserve cash and you get upgraded in your systems. I think, and working from home should be the norm, and people who need to not work from home need to realize why they are going out and doing that interaction for this period of time till the vaccine comes. And for that, people need to be very strong. They need to be very healthy. They need to be mentally strong. They need to be physically strong. So I refer this to all the community and the fraternity. Please ensure that work from home is the preferred choice for some period of time to come, and the social distancing is the norm. We will have to continue to work like this. We will have to safeguard our people, keep them safe using technology, and kindly invest in that. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep. So we have other panelists also. We have another 4 to 5 people. Plus we have some Q&A. And plus we have Mr. Shivasalam's closing remarks also. So I will request my other colleagues on the panelists to to make it very snappy and quick. I will go to Captain Vivek Anand. Captain Vivek Anand heads the NYK operations in India on the car carrier side. He has had extensive experience on the ship agency and shipping line operations. So as I mentioned, I'm going to move on the chain one by one link at a time. So after the ports, it is the shipping lines, those who make the calls. And I have already highlighted, the issues post-COVID, which we are going to face in terms of maybe possible costs, maybe in terms of optimization of workforce, use of technology, as Sandeep has just highlighted. The request for waivers, and of course the possible congestions are arising out of the increase in volumes. How do you think the shipping lines are prepared for this kind of scenario? And also we have to keep in mind that because of the import laden boxes not being evacuated for exports, there may not be boxes available because the boxes are still sitting in India. Also, there is a possibility that there is a that there are there are blank sailings. So even if we make the boxes available, there may not be ships to carry the export cargo. I mean, these are all post COVID, or I wouldn't say post COVID, but post third May scenarios. And what would be your advice, and how can the trade be better prepared for these scenarios?
Thanks, Vivek. I do understand the paucity of time, so I'm going to keep it very, very brief. Firstly, are we ready to move out of this post-COVID situation on the 3rd of May? I don't think so, because there is a major problem in the ports for labor and a huge acute shortage of trucks. Labor is working at the moment in ports, and I talk about all cargoes, not only containers, is about 60% of the labor is still there. Regarding trucks, I think about 45 to 50% truck fleet is available, but otherwise there is a huge shortage. So I don't think this is going to go away, because in May, usually the labor does go to their villages, post-harvest and pre-sowing season kind of things. What I would like to highlight from the shipping point of view, or ship lines point of view, or agency point of view, is one, that while we are talking about technology and doing everything on the internet and stuff like that, we are still not getting port clearances. E-port clearances are not being given by the customs, and this is something which I think in this scenario needs to be addressed very quickly by the government. The second thing is, while we are filing the IGMs and EGMs online, but we are still required to give in hard copies which need to be submitted to the customs. And this is happening in major ports. I mean, like Mumbai or Goa, even now. So I think with this COVID situation, social distancing, etc., these 2 points have to be very quickly addressed by the government authorities. Now, this thing of waiver of demurrage, detention, whatever, is a double-edged sword, you know. While, yes, there are very valid issues for people who are involved, who are having cash flow problems and things like that. But however, you know, if the imports are not going to be, the ports are congested, the CFSs are congested, the cargo is not moving out, factories are not open, warehousing is not open. And if the import boxes are not cleared, then the exports are not going to go out, because the boxes don't get empty and they don't come back into the port, or they don't get onward delivery to exporters. So I think we need to, as a community, think this through, whether it's going to be the 50-50 rule that is being applied on the air side, or how are we going to enforce that people do not misuse this thing of, you know, not paying up. So with that, I'll just limit myself to this. I had 4-5 other points to mention, but I do realize there's shortage of time, and we should have the other panelists also speak. So the filing and the empty exports.
Thank you, Captain Vivek. I will quickly go on to now Mr. Umesh Grover, who is the Secretary General for CFSCI and is the next link, you know, in the transportation for the containerized trade. And post COVID, I know you have had your situations, and I think from what we have seen is that you know, the CFSs have been evacuating, you know, containers from the port and preventing port congestions. I think we have seen that successfully in Nhava Sheva, Mundra, Chennai. But of course, you know, there's a cost that is involved in it, and of course, you know, the deliveries are not happening, and there is a, you know, the capacity is about to exhaust, and of course, and there are challenges of the waivers, there are challenges of the impending congestion, challenges of you know, the movement that will happen. So how do you intend to deal with this, Umesh and your members?
Thank you, Vivek. And thanks everybody. I think my previous two colleagues, Captain Sandeep Mehta and Vivek Anand, have rightly brought out certain issues which I will not like to repeat. Like in the ports, CFSs also got their act together from day one. They were working because they came under essential services. There are differences, you know, there were no trucks available. The staff was not there. We had to do sanitization of the area, provide food to the truckers, and everything was done. So we decided, since ports have to be kept free and the EXIM trade has to go on, our members took an extra mile. They paid extra to the truckers. They got some labor, lesser amount, but we thought at least the laden deliveries will continue going. And then every day they kept waiting 4,000 to 5,000 containers as normal. But what deliveries were going out were 100, 150, 200, which over the last few days started going to 500, 1,000, and now they come to almost 3,000. So that means there is improvement. Take the case of JNPT, 107,000 containers are moved out, only 33,000 deliveries. In Mundra, 35,000 moved out and about 15,800 deliveries. Similar situation in Chennai and other places. Now what happened was CFS are getting full to the brim at the cost of ports remaining still okay, especially in JNPT, because you still have 45% capacity available at JNPT. But it is because, and we are also looking at additional space, asking customs, and customs, JNPT have been very, very helpful. Same thing in Mundra. The port has been extremely helpful. Customs have been helpful. And they gave us additional space. Now additional space is also getting exhausted. And now CFs are coming to the brim. And now the problem is going to start. Now we are coupled with another thing is that in the trade is not coming forward to take the delivery. About 25-30% people have come. That means they're getting the trucks. They're paying some additional. If they can take it, the question arises, why not the balance? That means the system is moving. They do not have intent. They do not want to clear. We got cases, our guys have told us, He's got the out of charge, he's got everything, and he says, okay. When the guy asked him that, when are you going to take the delivery? He says, I'm a matter of what? I'll take it on 15th April. Now I'll take on 3rd of May. It's lying safe. Detention fee is expecting no charges to be paid till 3rd of May. Now there's a lot of pressure for CFSs to keep waiving the detention charges. Now let me tell you, nobody wants to profiteer this time or make any money. All of us realize our responsibilities. All of them are acting as sensible citizens. CFSs initially on the second day, they announced a 10-day waiver from 22nd to 31st of March. People who have started taking deliveries out of this 33,000 or 16,000 Mundra, they have not had a problem because our guys are giving additional free time. All these guys are already working at rock bottom tariff. They have 10 to 15 days free time as it is inbuilt because the shipping lines give them. Now to continuously asking for waiver, it is counterproductive. Like Captain Anand mentioned, if they don't take it, the empties won't be there and shipping lines are not going to position empties. So the exports are suffering and exports will continue to suffer. Now there are, how does the CFS, we have to pay upfront for all the services, your truckers, your forklift drivers, your rent, your electricity and everything. And CFS's cash flow is on the turnaround basis. Now supposing a CFS evacuated 5,000 from port and he gives only 500 deliveries, his cash flow is finished. He cannot even look at how to address this issue. 25,000 rough odd people are working, skilled and unskilled. And if they, how are they going to pay that? That's going to be a big problem for them. Now, I'll cut short a lot of other points, but let me tell you that blanket waiver is posing the biggest problem because everybody is expecting a blanket waiver. Customer satisfaction, what does the customer want? 100% satisfaction means he wants 100% waiver. That's not possible. It has to be a win-win situation. Everybody has to come, it has to be in between. That's why I'm saying 33,000 deliveries which have gone, they've gone smooth and our guys are facilitated. They are giving additional time. They are looking at the circumstances. Essential goods are being looked into and given a priority. One thing now, we work under essential services. And then we are told that, okay, don't collect your waive off all your charges. On essential services, the trade must pay for it. It's like you go to a hospital, it's an essential service. Then after the treatment, you say, I'm not going to pay. I think that's, it's pretty unfair. Now, just quickly coming to the post-COVID scenario, what I feel is this overcrowding of CFSs and the ports, there's a question of another 15 to 20 days, at the most 3 to 4 weeks. Because imports are reducing. When the COVID, it's a 42-day cycle from Europe or USA. So now the problems have hit there. Indian importers have stopped booking orders. A lot of vessel sales are getting cancelled, 200, 300 blank sailings. So in 2 to 3 weeks' time, incoming imports will reduce. CFSs, as we are seeing, if the 3,000 are taken out every day, I think in 20-25 days, it will reduce. And mid-May, June, we are looking at maybe finding CFSs are empty. And again, how to have your revenue. And if you keep forgoing everything now, that's a very, very big challenge. Thanks, Vivek.
Yeah, thank you, Umeshji. I know that so you have highlighted that of course it is not the challenge today of the congestion, but tomorrow's challenge is going to be of empty empty facilities wherein you may not have the business.
For next,
so it's very interesting. I mean, we are talking about an existential crisis for certain members. And I think, there may be some similar situation even for maybe the ports, I think even Sandeep probably can, I will just ask him to, him to quickly comment whether, do you also see that, the volumes are going to come down drastically in the coming future? And before I move to the next, just a quick,
Vivek, as I see it, next 4 to 6 weeks, you have got a fair amount of containers coming in as imports. The exports going out are about in the region of 25 to 30% right now. The rest are empties, and nobody's going to bring empties into the country. There will be a lot of blank sailings. There will be because this is the only time in we've been at this business now, it's totally 40 years. I've never seen a collapse of demand as well as supply. So this is the first time I've seen many things, but this is the first time I'm seeing demand collapse and supply also collapse. And therefore, the new solution that will come will be totally different. However, to explain you, I think it is a few months, at least another quarter after this coming quarter. So it will be Q3 that you will, in the financial year, you will see. Toward the end of the year, you will see the demand start to, again, people get confidence and start to work with it.
Just to supplement to Sandeep ji, in JNPT, the exports are still, volumes are much lesser because you have a lot of ICD bound cargo coming in. In JNPT, it's much lesser, it moves by trucks. So our exports are very, very less over here. And in fact, most of the terminals are, the shipping lines, once they find that there is no exports, they'll find it very expensive to have the vessel related charges also. So they will be skipping, which is already happening. You know it better than me. And I feel in about 6 weeks time, what you rightly say, CFSs will be looking at a lot of blank space and further loss of revenue. And even, to handle this 20,000-25,000 labor who has to be paid is going to be a big, big challenge.
Okay, thank you both the gents for your inputs. I will go to the next link. So we've been wanting to have inputs from Mr. Atri, but somehow it has been elusive. So Mr. Atri, are you there? Because it's very important that we gain a perspective from the freight forwarder or the custom broker. I see your name on the screen, but we've not been able to hear your voice. So Okay, Mr. Atri. So now as a next. Okay, no, but we are not able to hear you clearly. Are you? Okay. Yeah. So I think we have we have Mr. Anil Malhotra who represents So Anil, are you there? In terms of giving some inputs from a custom clearance or from a freight forwarding perspective?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Kelly. Just now, Mr. Sandeep was talking about the drops in volume. Now, if we see that in a bigger perspective now, all the stakeholders or the industry is working with the skeleton infrastructure or the staff, as we call it. And that too, especially in the essential services category. So in the ocean side, if you see from the forwarding point of view, the transit time, the TAT to bring the cargo to the country is approximately 30 to 35 days. So whatever cargo came and got dumped into the CFSs, that is a mix of rather, I would say 80-20 non-essential and essential commodities. That's the reason what I see, where I find that majority of our containers got stuck at the CFSs and not been able to move out. Only the essential commodity containers are getting moved out, and they are picking up some kind of speed because the productions are ramping up over there at the essential commodity industry side. The demands are increasing, and so is the case of their evacuation of containers. And yes, during this time, our trucking part has also been improved, that trucks were available, trailers were available to take those containers out to evacuate the containers. That's the one reason why we have seen some kind of increase in evacuation of those containers. But from my side, it's my view that if we allow for non-essential commodities to also move out and giving some kind of a permission to the factories, those who are into non-essential as well, probably these backlogs will get ease out. I would say the movement of containers will be there. That needs to be looked into. So when we talk about the preparedness going forward, as we all know, we don't have, it's a long kind of a journey. We don't know when we are going to come out with a vaccine and things will get over. But till that time, if we allow non-commercial essential commodities also to be run with skeleton staff or skeleton number of people, then what will happen, probably they will also get their input in. And once the input will go, we will have the export also, which is not there at this point of time. And as Mr. Sandeep and Umesh had pointed out, if the blank sailings are going to be then the situation is really going to be very blank. Then with all due respect, we maybe keep on talking about the stuff, but ground reality will be totally different. So collectively, what we have to look into that, how we can get into that non-essential side. Plus, when we talk about ground rent free or any freebies kind of stuff, I would suggest again we can monitor that from as Sivsalam sir has very correctly said, those who have already got the out of charge, if they don't take it out, or if they are into essential, if they are bringing in essential commodity, because in our customs when we file the document, we know what commodity we are bringing in. If that's an essential.
So Anilji, I would like to interject here. I think that is a some suggestion. Yes, that there are different ways one can do it. And on the air side, up to 14 days, said 50-50. On the sea side, they are saying on a case-to-case basis. I think that there are ways to come. There's nothing like a one fit solution that fits all, and it will also depend on what relationship you have with the customers, vendor customer relationship. I think they will be case to case basis, it may differ. Anyway, I do not want to dwell too much onto that, because that's a commercial matter. However, I also want to highlight that you said that non-essential goods have to move, but there's nothing stopping from non-essential movement of goods. The government of India immediately on day 3 of the lockdown being announced, clarified that all transport is, or day 3 or day 4, that all kinds of transport, essential or non-essential, it should be permitted. But I think the challenge was, by then the workers had run away, the drivers had run away, and the police in every state was interpreting the central rules in a different way, and we had those challenges. So and that's where the wheels stop moving. The transition wheels start moving, and we still aren't in that situation, where the wheel is still not moving to the expected speed. And post third, it is very important that all of us work together, in the next 1 week to get the wheel back in its original, momentum, so that we are back to normal, and this goes away. Yes, Mr. Sivasalam.
My only submission to the moderator and convener, Vivek, you cannot get away from uncomfortable situations. If you avoid these questions, and if it is uncomfortable, you cannot get away by telling, then what will happen is it will become existential issue. People will start deciding whether you should exist or not. And that situation should not arise. The commercial matter, if a commercial matter is affecting upstream or downstream, it has to be addressed. The issue in this particular case, a similar situation is there even in the air cargo. Why is the problem? See, I have preserved each of my emails. I have received 1,000 plus and counting emails in respect of CFS related. 1,000. It has virtually filled up my box. Essential mail, I have transferred it elsewhere. I have not received anything from any other sector in the logistics. And that is because what has happened is the communication did not go on correctly. If the CFS were to be telling that we will not give any concession, it's perfectly fine. They could have come out of it upfront. But on the contrary, they were running with the hare and hunting with the hound. Grover and Padmanabhan were issuing advisories to give concession. And the CFSs on the ground were telling that these are all advisories, we won't give it. And that is how the number of representations to me is 1,000. And the people who have represented are all people whom I have met at various conferences. There are so many whom I have not met, and therefore they did not have my email and they did not send it. The problem is, let us be very correct. CFSs have got it wrong. And you cannot get away from it by telling that this is a commercial matter. People, if each one of them decide to file a petition I am pretty certain the CFSs will go bankrupt fighting the cases in court. And we must be sensitive to it. The issues of force majeure must be understood. You cannot get away by telling that there are thousands methods by which commercial issues can be addressed. I'm not interested in theoretical 1,000 methods. I'm interested in one method by which it can be addressed and solution is provided. And that's the end of it.
Sure, sir. So
there is a great tendency on the part of logistics guys to talk everything that the other fellow must do it and forget about everything which you should do it. And I'm sorry, I have to call that bluff.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your interjection. I'm sure that there are people on this forum who have noted your points and got the message, and I'm sure they will deal with it in the most appropriate way. Now there's one important link that we have not covered so far. Is a transport link, and that was that is going to make or break the movement of so-called the logistics wheel. So we have Pradeep Singhal from ITWA, and amongst all the transport bodies, they have been the most proactive. They've been the most active and forthcoming when it comes to providing solutions. They were available on phone, on mails, on WhatsApp, and they had done a UMON service in the current scenario. So may I request Mr. Singhal, if
Vivek ji, if I could just if I could just intervene for a second, Vivek ji, we are actually now going over time. So if we could request the panelists to keep it short, and then we'll have, I don't think we'll have time for many question and answers. We'll keep it to 3 questions and then wrap up the session.
Sure. I mean, so that is the last panelist for from my session. I will like to invite.
Thank you so much.
And thereafter it will be Q&A, and then I'll request Mr. Then we'll request Mr. Shivasalam to help us.
Vote of thanks.
Vivek, I would like to add that in a relay race of success, Mr. Singhal has got the baton at last, and he's going to make us win.
Sure. Look forward to.
Please go ahead.
Okay, Singhal.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Shivasalam sir. So, without going into the past, I think collectively and with the help of the government and with the help of all the people, all the friends, we have been able to more or less keep the supply chain on for the essentials, pharma, medical supplies, and the food products, edible, everything. We have been able to keep it going. Axim, we took it as a kind of an essentials, and then we, with the industry interventions groups, we were able to decongest the airports, the ports, JNPT, etc. So Shivasalam has been our great, you can say, guiding force, and he came forward and helped us to make these groups, help us to rise to the occasion to make that happen. But the ground situation right now is that there is a 15 to 20% of the movement happening, which is good for essentials. Non-essential movement is not taking place, not because that is not allowed. It is not taking place because there is no way we can unload the material or load the material. All the shops or the offices or the warehouse or the factories of those people who are providing or who are manufacturing non-essential goods are closed. So there is no labor available, there is no staff available, they cannot go and open that factory. So the vehicles, even they are standing at their gates, they are factories and they are standing in between, so we cannot unload those things. And unless this markets open, unless this parcel business opens, and unless this factories opens, you cannot, we will not have any movement of essential non-essential goods. Okay. There is a shortage of manpower. Yes, the labor and the drivers, they have gone back to their native places. It is very difficult to bring them back. They are afraid of the virus. They are afraid of the police beating them, and their families will not allow them to come back. So the whole there is a fear psychosis which is happening there. We have to bring them back.
How do you overcome that? How do you see? We know that there's a problem. How do you overcome that?
Yes, I am coming to that only. So what we have suggested to the government, and which was brought, I can say, to the fore from the first speaker, was that first we have to facilitate their movement. And by facilitating their movement, we have to first issue them the passes. To get a pass is a difficult thing, and so, especially for a migrant labor or for a driver to go to his police station, give his credentials and get a pass. That is difficult to come to his working place. Whatever we may say, the police on the ground is not helping. The local authorities are not helping, and they are not facilitating their movement. So making the e-pass, facilitating them, and then also motivating them to come back. We can incentivize them by higher payments, but yes, some kind of insurance have to be provided to them to make them secure that yes, maybe not 50 lakhs, but 25 lakhs, not 25 lakhs, 10 lakhs, but something need to be provided by the government to all the migrant laborers and all the drivers or the people who are in the supply chain to motivate them to come. The local authorities, they either listen to the superior authority just above them, or to the straightaway to the call of PM. So if anybody goes and they say, yes, please do come back, nobody's going to listen. We had our motivational video from Nitin Gadkari ji. We had a motivational video from Manoj Tiwari ji, even in Bhojpuri, asking them to come back. Yes, it has helped, but it is not going to help unless they are very convinced that yes, they are safe. So we have played to the tune like it is you will die if you come out of your houses. Now we have to tell them that no, be cautious, take all the proper canon hygiene, take all the precaution, and you will not die. We will take care of you. So that scenario, that kind of you can say scenario has to change. We have to motivate them to come back. So if this labor and staff and this manpower is not there, if the passes are not issued to the manpower required, yes, we are going to see a shortage of the vehicles. When the post-COVID, when this if on 3rd of May, this lockdown opens, what we will see is that the existing workforce, the drivers we have and the labor we have right now will also like to move to their native place for at least 1 month and 2 months and go and meet their families. So we will see another dip in the availability of the manpower. So we will see a little dip. So I think it will be 4 weeks to 6 weeks, 1 month to 45 days before this the supply chain normalizes. It will take some time for the markets to open, the parcels to collect, make a full load, consolidations to happen, and things starts moving. As such, we are seeing that there will be 30% less movement. Already we are into a situation where there is an excess capacity. So we are going to see a further decline of goods by 30 to 40%, but I am just taking it 30 on valuation thinking. So 30%. So that will compensate for this some compensation for less vehicles available and less manpower available, but still we should be prepared to I can say give time for 30 to 45 days for the things to normalize. So on the shorter front, on the emergent issues, only 3 things: e-passes, insurance, motivate, facilitate. That is the only thing required.
Okay, thank you, Singles Up.
मैं पार्थिव दवे बात कर रहा हूँ फेडरेशन ऑफ कस्टम ब्रोकर से। मैं उमेश ग्रोवर जी से एक आधे मिनट के टाइम में एक सजेशन देना चाहता हूँ। अगर इंपोर्ट्स कार्गो सर एक आधा मिनट सर।
No, let the moderator decide as to who has to ask what questions, please. Please, Parthiv sir, if you don't mind, let the moderator decide as to what.
When a ground reality question is coming, you are avoiding.
No, there is no question. So it is being hosted by ICC and it is their prerogative because we already run into the time. So three questions is what going to be it is what is going to be permitted. So but before that, Shivasalam sir had requested me to update all the attendees regarding the EBL and EDO. I just wanted to give you a background that the EBL and EDO concept in India is traditionally in a context of a remote printing. For example, if a shipping line is giving you a delivery order or a bill of lading, that is being done because they're just giving you permission to print in your office, but you still have that physical copy and you take it to the to the bank, and the bank is demanding that along with several other documents inclusive of whatever as per the letter of credit is, whenever there's a bank involved. Whenever there's when there is no bank involved also, you still need to discount because you have certain credit from the bank and you have, you have taken some packing credit, so the bank also requires, certain documents. So now how do we get all this, not only the logistics service providers, but the shippers, the foreign exchange dealers, and everybody on a single chain, so that we are able to reduce the human intervention, achieve social distancing by means of technology. I think that is the whole objective of this e-bill of lading and EDO. So as a federation and an apex body, we have given certain suggestions to which Mr. Silvester was referring to. In fact, it is only today morning that once again we wrote to Ministry of Commerce that it is already a week ago that Shipping Ministry had written to you and asking in Indian Bank Association to take an action on it. So can we help in any way? Can we have set up a a roadmap of implementation of bill of lading and EDO in a true way? So, sir, I will forward that communication to you because in the original communication you were not there. So now then you have mentioned that you are spearheading that and it has come to your desk. So I will forward it to you, the commission that was sent to Secretary Commerce. So the good news for the people who are attending this webinar is that there was a challenge that we spoke about the drivers fearing that if they go out then the virus will kill them. Similar questions or challenges are in the courier boys or in the other staff which is going to the ports, which is going to the shipping lines offices for delivery orders for bill of lading. So by this initiative, and putting the electronic system in place, the human intervention, we are attempting to reduce the human intervention so that we are able to work electronically seamlessly and achieve the same objective, and so that during this during this 1.5 years, we don't have a situation in which people are being infected because of a documentation requirement. I think that is the objective of this whole initiative, and that initiative is from the Logistics Committee, and I must appreciate Mr. Sivasalam sir being an integral part of the Logistics Committee to come up with this idea, and we have full support from the and so now there's a question of three questions. So Devmalya, I will let you decide as to which questions.
There's one thing that just wanted to address. There is a small note that has come, and I would display it on the screen itself for all of us to be able to take a look at this. This will help us have a, just give me a moment, please.
In the meantime, Debalya, you have to decide as to which three questions you are going to permit, so that
the person who spoke at the time when you have just come at the time he was speaking, you give him the first option and then take two more.
Okay, so that is Parthiv Dave. Parthiv, can you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the questions has to be and the answers, everything has to be brief. We have already overshot the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, मैं मिस्टर उमेश ग्रोवर से एक सजेशन देना चाहता हूँ कि अगर कोई भी इम्पोर्टर सर प्लीज
requesting Mr. Dave 1 second, please ask a question. We
Very
don't
specific.
have time to go in for suggestions right now, since we
sir, please.
Requesting just ask your question to the panel, and then we can.
They are not allowed to ask the genuine questions.
Sir, genuine question is there कि उमेश ग्रोवर जी, अगर CFS पीपल इम्पोर्टर से अगर अंडर प्रोटेस्ट लेटर लेके कार्गो रिलीज करना चाहे तो वो परमिशन दे तो कार्गो एकदम फास्ट मूवमेंट हो सकता है. लीगल इश्यू पीछे से कोई भी आता है तो वो शॉर्ट आउट हो सकता है. अगर अंडर प्रोटेस्ट लेटर लेके कार्गो को परमिशन दे, अगर इम्पोर्टर रेडी है चार्जेस पे करने के लिए, तो इट विल बी बेटर टू क्लियर द सच कार्गो इमीडिएटली. सर उमेश ग्रोवर जी, प्लीज.
I will pass on your information to our CFS members. I don't run a CFS and I don't know business. Each one of them is an entity. I will pass on your information to them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We can go for the next question very fast. Hello. Yes. Hello.
Are we talking about the next question or what is it?
What we are looking forward to is, since in the interest of time, Mr. Dave, we've already noted down all these questions. There are at least not less than 50 questions right away during the communication.
So many questions are coming in my inbox.
Yes, there are many questions coming up. There is going to be a very active follow-up after this. What we are doing is comprising all the questions. We're going to send to the concerned authorities and have their answers comprised. We will be uploading all this on the central drive. Personally, one-on-one communication will be handed over to you. So please be rest assured that every question will be answered, right? So we'll take up questions.
Thank you so much, Anamika, for that. And if I could request Sivasailam sir for his closing remarks.
First of all, let me thank ICC and each one of you for having participated in this wonderful webinar. Generally, after so many days, I have a webinar in the entire industry. The various facets which constitute this wonderful logistics industry are all represented here. And this is the forum when we can address conflicting issues. And I'm very grateful that Vivek is also participating. He has a very onerous task, head of FILA, and trying to manage the various parts of the multi-hedron, if I can say so. And it is a very important thing that it is time, Vivek, in the interest of FILA as the leading umbrella of logistics associations, to actually take a call and get people on board. It is not the time to shy away. It's a time to face realities. You may fail. It's better to fail, try and fail, rather than not try at all. Because if you don't try at all, FILA as an institution, according to me, will become irrelevant after COVID if it does not address the various conflicting issues within the trade. I mean, I do agree. You took up this major issue of documentation with me, but that's not a conflictual issue. That's a consensual issue, and that's not too difficult. And all what it requires is if you are having an interest, we get a head start over it. But it would have come nevertheless in a situation like this if the authorities were to be intended. But the fact that you are joining in it will make it much more effective. But the important thing about FILA is not these. It is to address the conflicts on the ground. And unless and until we address conflicts on the ground, we will have a situation when institutions in India will become irrelevant. I need to tell you, a lot of our Indian institutions are here, Indian associations are here. The most important and rather sad aspect of which I have seen during this COVID, is that Indian institutions which could control the trade were marginal or marginalized when this was a situation to stand up and be counted. And I hope now that you wake up, because the post-COVID situation will continue to give those opportunities. But if you miss those opportunities, Indian institutions will lose their relevance in the trade, and that's not a good thing to happen. This is a time for us to ensure. I was particularly concerned about blank sailings. My dear friend, don't bother about it. I have been in touch with almost all the ambassadors to whom those ships belong. And if India is not on the radar, the ships eat crow. They strike dust. The entire shipping becomes unviable. I can also tell you about air cargo. You must have seen that Air India ran several freighters. Why did Air India run several freighters? Because if the government took a view that instead of paying 10 times the fare, or as was mentioned, 7 times the fare, he said, okay, we will pay 30% more to Air India and run it ourselves. And therefore, one of the suggestions which was made about air freighters is in order, likely to happen, provided you want it. If you all as an institution and as groups, as Indian associations join together, you are powerful. You can make it, and you can make it happen. And I expect Sunil in the air cargo side and Vivek on the shipping side to play your part. Come on the table. Your expectations may be high. You might achieve half of it, but the half of it will be a big gain, which otherwise we would have been left with something negative. I think the only thing which I think is a great gain from this wonderful webinar is the fact, if I have been able to drill down into each one of you who are all big players, each one of you, I know you personally, you're all big people in your own right, but if you are big enough in your own right and in your own cocoon, you will get crushed. It's time that you and your institution stand up. And if I'm able to send that message across to you, that you need to think big, and you need to think that you are definitely big. And I'm telling you that. But my understanding is that you're striking well below your weight. You need to strike more. If foreign freighters are charging more, I mean, what prevented any one of you coming and standing up? I don't have a single representation from you. I don't have a single representation from you. You could have just seen one post from me on a particular thing. I named it, and their entire corporate policy world over changed. It is just a small WhatsApp group from me, but it made an impact. And if I can make that much of impact with minimalistic capabilities, quite a few of you are capable of making businesses run. You are all important, and therefore you must strike at your weight as an institution. You don't need to be unfair, and I'm not asking any one of you to be unfair. I'm not asking CFSs to do charity, but you need to be fair. And my grouse against several of you, and some of you maybe in patches, is that you have not been fair. And if you are not being fair, people will remember this post-COVID, and then it might become an existential crisis as far as you are concerned. At that time, you will be alone with nobody to cry for. And I want you to appreciate this and understand this, because we are this entire logistics trade is a highly organic, interconnected group. You cannot have one group. Everything is to be decided in group, and everything is to be decided in a manner by which it is acceptable to the other side. I'm not telling that, as I told you, I'm not telling that you should suffer a loss. But if everybody suffers a loss, people can always decide, okay, I can bear this much and you can bear this much, and then you can go ahead. And when good days come, certainly each one of you will benefit to that extent. This was, when I saw the participation list, originally I thought I won't participate, thinking that I'm nearing the end of my career and I may give it a miss. But the nature of the group attracted me, and all of you whom I know personally, I thought I will send you this message so that this COVID cannot be a situation. You have all been together in happier times, and it is time you are together in troubled times as well, because that will make you much more stronger as associations, institutions, and as India institutions and India Institution Incorporated. To the present leadership represented here by Sunil and Vivek, you carry onerous task. No issue is a no-go issue, And I request you to bring it any issue on the table. If associations are associated, every issue is to be brought on the table. I agree, individual issues need not be. Collective should be addressed by you, and each one of you should take it forward. Otherwise, I see, as I pessimistically submitted in my opening remarks, the end of this COVID may actually see a bloodbath. And it will be very unfortunate if that happens, because I have seen each one of you support each other during good times. And I don't want you to, I don't want this entire wonderful group of great people separating out. And that's what is my message to you going forward. Thank you, ICC.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bad, but
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Siva Asylum, sir. Your comments are very well noted. We are really grateful for your time. And I am now asking our Regional Director, Mr. Devamalya Banerjee, for a vote of thanks and his closing remarks. Thank you, sir.
At the very onset, let me thank you, Siva Asylum, sir. This is the second time that you are addressing us. In the past also, you had been chief guest for one of our national awards for logistics. ICC has been proactively working on the logistics sector. The sector is so huge that we may not be in a position, have not connected with all of you, but it has been a decade since this ICC logistics committee is in place. This year, my senior colleague, Mr. Setia, is chairing this committee. And, very well of your words, which our special secretary has mentioned right now. It's basically he wants to see a team India in terms of logistics. Fragmented way of working will not be the order of the day post-COVID times. ICC will always be, facilitating, trying to integrate various parameters, various verticals, so that we as a country, as a sector of economy, it should not be rail separate, air cargo separate, freight separate, CFS separate. Every sector, every vertical has its own, but we will all be working together. It's a pleasure on behalf of ICC to host this program, and thank you so much, sir, once again for coming on board and addressing all of us. Just to say that, around 172 people registered. We had to stop the registration at one point of time. And this same program is going on YouTube live also. And as Anamika, who had been a wonderful coordinator, has mentioned, we will address each of the queries. There is a volley of questions which has come. We all can see in the Q&A session. I'm getting in the chat, and so many emails are already being bombarded in my mailbox in terms of many more things which the people, how the truck drivers can come back, what is their insurance. I'm just generally saying so many questions are coming, but we should get back to each one of the stakeholders in forthcoming times. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Sir. Thank you all.
Just to add a little point after this, the video will be available, sir, and your message to the whole industry, Mr. Shivasalam, sir, is going to be passed on in a positive way. All the questions that are going to be there, we are going to ensure that people are able to understand and contribute together. There will be facilitation post this, and we will try and see, as the focus of our webinar is also to see the pre-planning that can help the whole industry with the different segments, right from the trucking sector, freight forwarding to the shipping. So we have made a small effort, which is just to appraise also that we will be trying to streamline the available data on congestion, and as all the eminent speakers have spoken up and updated that this much is moving, and so many containers are moving, so much cargo is moving, so much has been done per day basis. So maybe a weekly update, if we are able to send it out to the team, they are able to pre-plan, and the road congestion, the truckers and everyone are able to come united again. With this opinion, we are working forward and keep you in loop on the same as well. Hopefully there would be a follow-up post the opening, and whatever best performances happen as a team, we will keep you in loop. All of us, thank you so much for being so patient, and such a wonderful discussion that happened with all your wisdom and experience shared to all of us. Thank you so much for
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone.
This is also my last webinar as a civil servant.
Sir, you've been a
Thank
very
you.
wonderful leader.
Thank
That
you,
is
sir.
the personal thing. I've
Thank
been
you.
much inspired by you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir.